Thank you very much also for the invitation to Rome. It was a great opportunity for me to visit the city also. So, I would like to show you today what our roadmap towards digitalization in public works in the German transport sector looks like. But before I go into detail, I would like to show you why this is so important for us. In the end, I will show you some short videos that show the objectives and potentials of the use of BIM in the transport sector. So now in the beginning, what are the biggest challenges in the transport sector? Oh, sorry, back. Can you go one back? Oh, no, it's okay. That's okay. Yeah, the German transport infrastructure consists of 53,000 kilometers of federal roads, 33,000 kilometer railroads, 7,000 kilometers of waterways, and 40 commercial airports. The federal government spent 10.3 billion euros in 2014 on transport infrastructure. So this is about 5 times as much as the total expenses for public buildings on the level of federal construction. So the 5 challenges in the German, the challenges in German transport sectors are the biggest challenge in the transport sector is that our statistics from 2010 say that until 2030 the freight traffic grows by 38%. This is confirmed by the newest numbers. In 2015 we got a new all-time high in freight traffic. So today it is still possible on many German autobahns to drive as fast as you want, also with Italian sports cars. But if we don't do anything about it, it will look like this in 2030. So what can we do about it? First of all, we need to increase our investments in the construction of infrastructure, and we do so. We have an increase of 30% in 4 years. Second, we want to stabilize our investments in the infrastructure. We try to establish something like a closed finance system for the roads. Therefore, we have already increased HGV charges, that's heavy goods vehicle trucks charges, and we are trying to establish a general road toll. But we also have to look at the expenses. We need to minimize the expense risks, and we need to increase the efficiency in the construction. So the last 2 we tried to tackle with the Reform Commission. The Reform Commission construction of major projects, that's its name, it's established after some bigger construction processes like the airport in Berlin went wrong. But it would be too easy if we claimed that there were only a few mistakes that led to higher costs. There is a real structural problem which we can see in this graph. If you look at the development of the labor productivity since 1991, it increased by 70% in the manufacturing industry. One of the reasons is the successful digitalization, above all in the car industry and in the machine tool industry. The green graph shows the construction industry. Over all these years, we even lost productivity here. This is really alarming, I think. So, the Reform Commission. Last summer, the Reform Commission submitted its final report. It has 10 major recommendations. The first one is cooperative planning in a team. The second one is first plan, then build. So this seems to be trivial, but obviously it was not. So they really had to include this. Include a proper risk management, include quality criteria in the award process, cooperative project partnership, out-of-court settlement of disputes, mandatory value for money assessment, clear processes and responsibilities, greater transparency and control. So in general, you can say that the construction lacks transparency and a well-structured collaboration. So we need a method that helps us to implement this, and this is BIM. The Reform Commission suggested making a BIM roadmap, similar to the one you just heard about in the UK version, a roadmap for the introduction of modern IT-based processes and technologies for the design, construction, and operation of assets in the built environment. The roadmap was developed by Planbauen 4.0 on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure. The representatives of all industries involved in design and building, as well as of public and private clients, policymakers, and real estate owners participate in the development of the roadmap. The company Planbauen 4.0 was established last year by the major associations of the design and construction value chain in order to advance the digitalization of design and building in Germany. So this is all those associations standing behind this company. First, it was essential to find a common understanding of what BIM really means, because everybody has a different understanding if you tell somebody the first time. In our roadmap, we defined it as a collaborative work method. And again, the well-structured collaboration and the transparent documentation and communication is central. There are similar definitions in the roadmaps of other countries, but the Germans want to have put it all together in one sentence, so it's a big one. The aim of the roadmap is the gradual introduction of BIM in the area of responsibility of the Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure. As you saw before, our ministry is the federal government's main investor in the construction sector, and it will implement the roadmap as an example. Yet it can also be used as a model for the building construction in general. So the map provides clarity for all participants regarding the future requirements they should prepare for. It also gives everybody sufficient time. In the beginning, you had this chart where Germany has the long. I couldn't understand what you said about it, but I could see that that's the longest period of time that Germany admits for itself. So I think it's important to not be too fast there, but to make it properly. At least that's the German way. So we try to do it properly. So we try to give everybody sufficient time to make the necessary changes, and by setting the timetable for the gradual introduction of BIM. In the first phase, we need to initiate qualification and training measures. We want to prepare BIM guidelines and to develop standards. It's very important for us, and it's a prerequisite that we use open BIM in the future. That means that information should be exchanged in non-proprietary formats. The most important international standard in this area is IFC, Industry Foundation Classes. While IFC is well developed for the construction of buildings, it still has to be extended to requirements of infrastructure. South Korea and China presented their suggestions for IFC road and rail last year. They have to undergo the standardization process of Building Smart International in 2016 and 2017. For this process, we engage a German expert group that monitors and supports this process. In the end, our experts will also validate the consistency of the results. For IFC Bridge, I heard that our friends in France have a leading role in the standardization process. And for IFC Tunnel, I have no information so far. Maybe, Angelo, do you know anything about it? Because you know always everything about what's going on in the world.
Marcus König.
Yeah, he works on it, but there's no real standard, I guess, that he tries to implement right now. Okay, so the extended pilot phase. There's a second phase in our phased plan. For now, we have 4 pilot projects that you can see here. For the projects you can see on the bigger map, we are actually working on the financing agreements right now. But we are still working on the determination of other projects, mainly for roads, bridges, and tunnels. This is not Austria. This is supposed to get into Germany someday. So what is the BIM performance level that we want to achieve in 2020? We basically differentiated between data and processes. For the data, BIM obviously has to be included in the contract. The so-called employer's information requirements that you heard about before, the EIR, have to be specified. Deliverables are to be derived from 3D models and to be delivered in digital format. The data delivered by the supply chain has to be tested for compliance with the EIRs, and we require open BIM. That's the invitation to tender should require the provision of non-proprietary data exchange formats. Similar to the British roadmap, we also developed a Bim Reference Process that you can see here. This is a nice picture of Planbauen 4.0. It shows the principle of information provision as well as the corresponding project management. Red dots indicate the transfer of data to the contracting entity. For those who are interested in it, the English version of our roadmap will be ready in 1 or 2 weeks. It will be downloadable on our website too. So for now, I just want to point out the most important requirements. That is concerning the processes. The process for the production of the required data is to be defined in the BIM execution plan, BEP. A common data environment, CDE, that all participants can access has to be established. Client and suppliers should agree on a project charter outlining the rules for fair, open, and collaborative behavior. The clients should establish rules for internal dispute resolution procedures. BIM relevant skills and competencies are to be considered awarding the contract. So what do we want to achieve? And now that's the funny part of the whole thing. I've got some videos for you. First, increasing design accuracy. You can see the track. No, you can't see anything. Yeah, you can see the track moved in the landscape, and immediately you get a first approximation of the earth movement, which is usually the most expensive in the construction of infrastructure. Here you can also see a cost approximation. This allows us to plan faster and also more accurate. But for all those videos, you will see that's a nice show. But we are still in parallel planning. This is not the real planning. We do only this. This is not true. So we do parallel planning. This is from our pilot projects. So please don't think, okay, the Germans they can do it already. No, we can't. We're just trying it out. So the second thing is with a better visualization of our projects, you can also improve the project acceptance. It's easier to explain what you really want to do. Here in before and after comparisons. Next one, yes. This is also an example of a very nice visualization of our pilot project, Filstal Bridge between Stuttgart and Ulm. Very nice pictures. And the next one shows the 4D planning. This actually, it's the same bridge. Here you can see a visualization of the 4D planning. They are actually starting with the construction in these weeks. And that's what they are going to do in the next years. The next video is from our other pilot project with German Railway, the tunnel in Rastatt. Here you can see the 5D planning with the cost running parallel to the construction going on. And you can also use your models for simulations in the operational phase. This is the next video. In this simulation, you see it shows the shock wave of a train going into a tunnel. And if you have all the data already, it's easier to do a simulation like that. And finally, in the last video, I heard that, for example, the localization of a perfect spot for a signal is still done by hand today. I think that means somebody really drives down the railway looking out of the locomotive when the railway is already done. And this is, for me, when I heard this, it was unbelievable. But now with a visualization like this, that would not be necessary anymore. You can really plan in detail before you build the railway. Yeah, that's nice pictures from our pilot projects. But there's still a long way to go. And we gave us enough time. I think until 2020, we should be ready.
Thank you very much.